Experiences. I'm Robert Jones. I'm the Vice President for Engagement and Communications here at Independent Sector. I've been here for a couple of years now. I've actually never done a webinar before. I think it's largely because I looked this up. I have scopeophobia, which is a fear of cameras or being stared at. So I would ask all of you to avert your gaze. Don't stare at me, and I'll be much more comfortable. But seriously, this is a topic I'm particularly excited about. I actually volunteered for this webinar because I spend a lot of time thinking about how we in the sector communicate our missions, how we can do it better and more cost effectively. So several months ago, I was in San Francisco for meetings, and I signed up through Airbnb to do a social impact experience. Specifically, I wanted to do the tour of Chinatown that was conducted by the Chinese Culture Center. Before that tour, I did what everybody does, right? I went to their website, I read their blog, I read up on the center, and I think I got a pretty good idea for what they were all about. Their mission is about preserving and communicating the history and the culture of the Chinese community in San Francisco. Fine, I got that on an intellectual level. But then I walked the streets of Chinatown and I listened to Darren Ao Wing, who is their director there at the center, as he recounted the long struggle of the Chinese community to assert their power and their identity and their voice in San Francisco. And the impact was completely different from anything I got on their website. Suddenly, I sort of understood in my gut why San Francisco needed the Chinese Culture Center and why their mission matters. I can honestly say that if I lived in San Francisco, I would have signed up for their mailing list, I would attend their events, I would become a supporter, and it was all because I had that experience with them for an hour or so on the streets of San Francisco. So look, I'm a writer. I believe that words matter, but I also believe that it's worthwhile for every nonprofit organization to think about how we might communicate our mission through an experience. It's a different form of communication, and it's just uniquely powerful. I think it's a valuable exercise to go through whether or not you choose the Airbnb platform, frankly. But the fact is, Airbnb does have this powerful technology and this huge audience that allows you to monetize your story really quickly and easily. And that's what excites me as a communicator, and that's why I volunteered to do this webinar today. Let me just quickly introduce our two co-hosts from Airbnb. Connor Berkery has been working at Airbnb for over 4 years, where he's always played a role amongst the Airbnb host community. He started working on the policy team as a community organizer, and then transitioned to working with nonprofits to grow the Social Impact Experiences program. He's a New York native and a graduate of Fordham University. Laura Field, who went on the tour with me, by the way, has been working on the Social Impact Experiences team since the program started 2 years ago. She's a strategist with a diverse communications and CSR background. She specializes in restructuring management systems, globally scaling corporate responsibility initiatives, and client management. So I'm going to turn over to them 1 second, just a couple of housekeeping items. All the participants are automatically on mute for the course of the webinar. So if you have any questions, just use that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and then they will answer questions at the end of the presentation. And the presentation, I believe, is being recorded, and it will be available on the website shortly after we end here today. So with that, I'm going to exercise my scopeophobia, turn off my camera, turn it over to Airbnb. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Robert, for the wonderful introduction. So everyone, welcome to the Airbnb Social Impact Experiences webinar. We are going to be with you for the next 50 minutes, so there will be an opportunity for Q&A at the end. We have about a 15-minute product demo that we're going to show with you after we share with you a little bit more about the program. So let's get started. As Robert introduced, my name is Laura, and this is my colleague Connor. We are both very excited to share with you social impact experiences. I have been on the team for the last 2 years since we launched this product, and we We have now have over like 450 experiences with different nonprofits live on the platform since we launched 2 years ago. So experiences are ways for locals to connect Airbnb guests to real and local people and culture. So the opportunity here is for nonprofits to, in particular, kind of greet Airbnb travelers as they enter, as they come to their cities. And this opportunity is available for any traveler on the Airbnb platform or otherwise, as well as locals. So as a nonprofit host, you'll have the opportunity on a weekly basis or however many times you choose to basically showcase your city to Airbnb guests. So the Airbnb Experiences program is new to Airbnb in the last 2 years, but it's growing really fast. So we are growing 21 times faster than our homes business. And in the next couple of months, we'll have expanded to 1,000 different cities. So we are available all across the United States and Canada. So anywhere that you have your nonprofit, you are able to host your experience for travelers. So what is an Airbnb experience? So Airbnb's experience is basically a local who is knowledgeable and passionate about something in their community and can host for up to 10 people. So it gives you access to a community in which you may not otherwise. In this photo is our Wolf Encounter experience. This is a nonprofit outside of Seattle called Predators of the Heart. They have a wolf sanctuary, and the opportunity here is for the passionate host, Dave, to host you at the sanctuary and to share with you kind of an inside access to wolf conservation. So what is not an Airbnb experience? Airbnb experiences are hosted by one individual person, or in our case, organization. So the experience has to be greeted by someone similar to when you stay in a home. So when you stay in an Airbnb home, you're greeted by a host or someone who has that home and wants to share that experience with you. That is the same with an Airbnb experience. Unlike the homes business, you don't actually have to be an Airbnb homes host. You can be an experience host and not a homes host. So we have all kinds of different hosts on our platform who are passionate about their city and want to share it with travelers. So we have small businesses, new entrepreneurs, and then this program, Social Impact, is focused on community nonprofits. So like Robert mentioned, the Chinese Cultural Center is a nonprofit organization that cares about essentially the history of Chinatown, and will take you on more of an in-depth tour than one that you might get when you hop off of like the big bread bus in the city. So we have a video, I believe, that we want to share with you about social impact experiences. So social impact experiences, this one is a guide dogs video outside of London. And I'm just going to go ahead and mute myself so that you can hear from the organization kind of about their experience.
I absolutely love seeing people's reactions when they meet the dogs. They know how to wiggle their way around your heart.
Guide Dogs is a charity that's been around in the UK since 1931. Currently there's 2 million people in the UK living with sight loss, so our work is more vital than ever. The social impact experience for Guide Dogs on Airbnb has allowed us to raise awareness of the work that we do. We've got fantastic dogs, but there is a human being at the end of the lead, so it gives us a chance to put people in those shoes and educate them about the training, how important it is.
We have a tour of kennels, they groom the dogs, you get to see the free running area. It's a really great way to come in, to ask us loads of questions, cuddle the dogs, play with them.
I came across this and I thought this is something I can't pass up. There's more of the uniqueness of the experience, but I also know the proceeds were going to support the organization.
It costs around £55,000 from birth to retirement for each of the dogs.
We rely on the generosity and donations of individuals, so by raising funds and awareness it helps us continue our life-changing work.
I definitely think that people have realised how much guide dogs are actually worth.
It really gives us the opportunity to bring people out to the small corner of London and show the work that we're doing out here. It's worth the tube ride.
Great. So Guide Dogs is essentially a charitable organization outside of London in which they typically would just like train guide dogs. And so they've opened up this opportunity for individuals in the Airbnb community to come visit them and to learn more about the program, with the idea that people will eventually become donors. So this gets to kind of the heart of why nonprofits are choosing social impact experiences. So social impact experiences, Airbnb waives our fees. So a typical experience host would receive a 20% fee on every booking. So if someone booked for $50, they would then basically the host would see 80% of that. But for our nonprofit hosts, we waive that so that nonprofits see 100% of the fees. So for instance, if the guide dogs experience cost $50, that money would go directly to your organization. So this helps to raise funds and kind of generate a regular income, since the programming can happen on a weekly basis based on what your experience is. But then it also creates lasting impact. So similar to Robert's example of, finding people either in your own community or in a community of travelers who are really passionate about your cause and will continue to give back. Just a quick personal story. So this morning, we're going to showcase one of our best experiences in Los Angeles that is hosted by Free Animal Doctor. And I just took the experience, and on the experience, a couple from the UK, from Kent, they were joining the experience, and every year they're now coming on the experience. So this was their second annual trip to LA and their second time visiting the experience and Free Animal Doctor. And when asked why they decided to come back on the experience, they said because they've been following Free Animal Doctor's social media ever since taking it the first time and wanted to come back and do the experience again. So it is creating lasting impact even with travelers from around the world. And then raise awareness. So one of the kind of the upcoming slides, we're going to share with you how much a host can really kind of gain visibility on the website just by being on Airbnb. So just a couple quick stats. To date, we've had 50,000 guests connected to causes with over 450 organizations. And in total, nonprofits have raised $3.2 million for their charities. So on an average, so similar to what I just mentioned, an average experience host would host about, I would say, like once a week and get an average seats of 155 bookings a year. So it's 155 new people that you're kind of exposing to your cause in a really cool experiential way. And then the awareness piece is about 18,000 page views happen on everyone's kind of page. So everyone gets a personalized page that you're going to see in the product demo that's just about your organization and your experience. And we find that on an average year, 18,000 people have read that page to learn more about your organization. And then the average income is about $6,500 per nonprofit organization every year, but some organizations are making much more than that. So for instance, the Free Animal Doctor experience in Los Angeles, that is hiking dogs that you'll see in the product video, this experience is making over $100,000 a year. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Connor to talk to you a little bit more about creating experiences.
Thank you, Laura. So now that you have an understanding of what experiences are, our standards, and as well as the benefits that your organization can receive, let's go through some examples and treat these as tips and tricks and start to think about how your organization can offer a similar type of experience. So one of the beautiful things about the Airbnb community is that they really like to become part of the city. And in order to do so, ultimately, you have to connect with the locals within that city. And experiences, because they're hosted by locals, really give guests that opportunity for that direct interaction with locals. So here you have Cycling Without Age, who takes you on a bike tour throughout Copenhagen. However, they're able to provide this unique perspective because, as you see here, you are paired with an elderly within their community, and you get to share stories together and whatnot, and you gain their unique perspective while also sharing the sights of Copenhagen as well. How can you also immerse guests in the cause, really getting hands-on and dirty as well? You know, don't be afraid. This is the Airbnb community. So here you have Plastic Whales, who takes you on an iconic trip throughout the canals of Amsterdam. And ultimately, you are fishing for plastic, which is super core to their mission. And what we love about this experience as well is that it comes full circle when you realize just how hands-on it was for you. Because if you see that boat right there, it was actually made with all of the plastic that was collected in the canals as well. And we also love reading these reviews once in a while because you sometimes get those mothers that were like, I can't believe I just paid for me and my family to pick up trash in the canals. But it was so worthwhile and so unique and different. Now here, we also like to provide insider access to our guest community. And part of the ways that we do so is by having these really amazing hosts. And here you will meet Jack, who was the prison warder and chef for Nelson Mandela during his imprisonment in Robben Island. And so here he takes you through Robben Island on a really intimate experience where he shares stories and accounts of his interactions and time with Nelson Mandela. So you can only imagine just how special that experience truly is and that insider access he's able to provide. Everyone knows him by name there. He takes you into the kitchens where he used to cook, and now actually it's turned into a program for job training for the incarcerated. So it's a really unique, special experience, and you can really thank Jack and his expertise and his intimate interactions with Nelson Mandela for that. Next, sharing your skills. So this can be a really great opportunity to actually tap into your support community to offer experiences on your behalf. So here's a really great example with Family House, who provides services and housing for the families and children who are battling cancer. And because of the vulnerable population they work with, it was really difficult to think about what kind of fun, engaging, experience they could offer. However, they leveraged their own support community to offer experiences on their behalf. And so here you can see Becca, who was a dedicated volunteer and actual master cookie maker, and she is actually offering experiences on Family House's behalf. So they receive all the benefits, and they're able to host an experience because of Becca now. And this experience that we keep mentioning that Laura just went on is the Hike Runyon Canyon with a rescue dog. And this does a really great job at what we call aiming for iconic with a twist. So we know that someone is coming to your city. What are the main attractions that they want to see while there? But how can you put a unique angle or a unique twist to provide a different perspective and slant to that traditional ordinary type of tourist activity? So here you have Runyon Canyon. Everyone is going to want to go on a hike while coming to LA to see the Hollywood sign. However, Free Animal Doctor takes you on this hike, but they do so with a rescue dog by your side. So it's really different than that just hiking alone, to your own to see the hike, to see the sign. But now you have your dog, you can take your Instagram photos. It's a little bit different, it's a little bit unique. And we've actually seen an uptick in engagements on their social media because of experiences, and because of that, also their adoption rate as well. So let's think about what your organization can leverage and what are the ingredients that can really make a unique, special, authentic experience. So first and foremost, why do you work for the organization you do? What made you fall in love with the cause, and how can you make someone else do the same? So Becca does a really great job at this because she was a dedicated volunteer, and she is able to share why she loves partaking in Family House. Through kind of breaking down that through cookie making and that cookie workshop. What assets do you have that you can tap into within your own organization? Do you have a really great support base who can offer experiences on your behalf? Do you have unique programming that can be tailored to the Airbnb community? Do you have someone who's an expert in some field that they can share? And do you have a great space that perhaps you could host a concert in? And then last but not least, this relates to that aiming for the iconic. And you know someone's coming to your city, what do they want to see? How can you give it to them? But how can you ultimately put your spin on things? And as always, this is an extension of your brand. I oftentimes say that this is your own little mini storefront within the Airbnb marketplace. So let's make this really exceptional because it's a great way to expand your audience as well. So we keep talking about this host who is that central figure to the experience. So who can host on your behalf? It could be a staff member who's clearly connected to the organization, has an intimate knowledge of your cause, and is passionate as well. It could be a community member who can do a really great job at sharing that empathy as well and how your organization has impacted them. Also, we've seen a lot of folks hire contractors as well. So we have one experience in New York City where they tapped into the arts community to offer experiences on their behalf. However, they're also paying them as well. So the Lisa Project in Little Italy takes you on an immersive street art walking tour. However, it's not a staff member, it's not a volunteer. It was actually a street art photographer that they were connected to. And so she gets a portion, but they also get a portion as well. And in addition, you could also tap into that volunteer, that dedicated volunteer who wants to continue to devote more time to supporting your work. However, this is unique and different because they're able to fundraise simultaneously for your organization. Now that you have an understanding of some tips, some examples, what experiences are, let's go through what the submission process looks like in this 10, 15-minute video. And I'm sure there'll be questions after here, so we'll dive into questions and answers right after this.
In this video, we will follow the experience submission process of one of our top social impact hosts, Ryan Boyd from Free Animal Doctor. You'll learn how to submit your experience, see what the submission form looks like, and discover how to find an experience once it's live. Let's begin. So first, we'll start at Airbnb.com. From there, you'll click on the top right where it says Become a Host and Host an Experience. This will take you to the beautiful experience landing page where you can learn more about Airbnb experiences, the benefits of becoming a host, and also any frequently asked questions that you may have. Once you review this page, go ahead and click on Get Started. And from here, you'll be prompted to sign up for a new Airbnb account page. As a social impact experience host, we ask that you create a new account that is specific to your nonprofit. This allows you to share your logins with your team members and really ultimately makes it dedicated to you as a nonprofit host. So let's go ahead and sign up by email. As we are using Ryan's account as an example, we'll go ahead and fill in his nonprofit email, his first name, and then also his last name. So the first name will be shown on your experience page. So make sure that the account name for this account is based on your host. So the good news about this is, let's say you're having two hosts. You can always do Ryan and Stephanie, or Ryan and friends, or just leave it as Ryan. But ultimately, we want to make sure that guests know that Ryan is hosting the experience. And note that we can always update this later. So to start, just plug in who you think will be your host. And from this point, you'll create a password and then also quickly plug in the birthday. So we also request that you plug in the birthday of the host. And once you click sign up, you will then have your nonprofit specific Airbnb account that will be specific to your experience hosting. Okay, so now let's flash forward over to Ryan's experience submission page so you can see what it looks like from his perspective. So again, this is the page that you will see as you are filling out your experience submission. The fields on the left are all the little notes that will end up being on your experience page so that guests can see what your experience is all about. So first is languages. As experiences are located all over the world, we do allow hosts to host in their native language. And also we list out a little data chart here to let you know which language might be the best for you to host. So of course, in this instance, it will be English. Next, we will click on category, and this is where you will highlight your category and the theme of the experience. So in this case, Ryan has chosen nature. And next, I really want to point this out to make sure that you check that you are hosting on behalf of a nonprofit organization. This allows us to label your experience as a social impact experience so that guests can see that they are supporting a cause. And also, it allows Airbnb to waive service fees so that 100% of all proceeds will go to the organization. So make sure you check this box. And then secondly, again, we just want to check that you are signed in to your organization's Airbnb account. So in Ryan's case, he did sign up with his nonprofit email, so he's gone ahead and checked that. And then next, listing your organization name. So this is where you'll be able to list your list your nonprofit so that people visiting your experience page can see who they are supporting and the community members that they will be meeting. We do have two requirements as a social impact host. One is that you have consent from the nonprofit to run this experience. And secondly, that the organization meets the criteria for a social impact experience. So this is primarily TechSoup validation. We have partnered with TechSoup to verify that the nonprofits that we are working with are validated. So make sure that you TechSoup verify if you have not already. Okay, so now is the fun part where you list out your experience. Again, the items on the left are all the details that you will be providing so that viewers of your page know what to expect. So as you can see, through this process, you're also able to see the preview of what your experience page will look like. So as you're filling in the details on the left, it will populate on the right, which is really helpful as you are building out your experience. And it creates a more visual way for you to see what you're building. So let's first start with title. Title is very important because it is what people will be reading and getting an idea of in terms of what your experience will be. Throughout this whole application process, there are a lot of tips and tricks. So make sure that you are reviewing the notes and examples that we have. And then next for photos, same deal, a lot of tips and tricks here and also just examples that you can view. We do request that you have at least 5 images, if possible, because this allows the guests to really engulf themselves in what your experience could look like. And, the more pictures, the better. In Ryan's case, he has uploaded 5, so users are able to scroll through and see what it would be like if they are on the experience. So next is about you, and this is going to be about the host. You want to tell guests what makes you qualified to host this experience. Be as descriptive as you can, share as much of your history as you can, and of course relate to the experience as much as you can. And in this instance, Ryan is the co-founder of Free Animal Doctor, so he has kind of provided how he's well known for what he does. And besides focusing on the host, we also want to focus on the organization. We want guests to know who they are supporting and, of course, learn more about your organization. So here's a brief description about your nonprofit organization. What causes the support? What mission does your organization strive towards? This is a great place to highlight it. Next is what we'll do. So this is where you'll describe the experience itself. Be as detailed, descriptive, storytelling as you can so guests can really understand what they are signing up for. Next is where we'll meet. So this is a place where you can list the address of where people will be meeting you and also directions so that people do not get lost. The good news here is that we do not share the address until the guest has booked. So ultimately, as a user who has not booked yet, we would just see the general location. And then once someone does book, they will get all the directions and the details. And besides the specific directions, we also have a section that's where we'll be. And this is where you can truly highlight why the location is special or why it's important to you. And it's okay if it's just one location. So in Ryan's example, his location is Runyon Canyon Park. And he outlines that this is a very popular park in LA and it has great views of the Hollywood sign. So this is really just another selling point for why your experience is unique. Next, what I'll provide. So this is where you can let guests know what you'll be providing, and it helps them understand what they're paying for. So it will be different per experience, but be sure to highlight as much as you can so that guests will know, again, what they're paying for. And it's broken out by meals, drinks, tickets, transportation, accommodation, snacks, and all that jazz. And besides what you'll provide, also let guests know what they should bring. So for this Runyon Canyon hike, Ryan has outlined that guests should bring a backpack to carry bottled water, sunscreen, and a camera to capture all the cute puppies. And then lastly, a notes section. We want to enable and empower our hosts to provide as much information as they can to guests so that guests can know what to expect and be prepared. So again, in this instance, Ryan has outlined that he will be in the sun, so make sure you bring sunscreen, and other small details that will help make the guests' lives a bit easier. So that is a quick run through of all the different forms and sections that you will be filling out for your experience page. Again, as you are filling it out on the left, you will see a beautiful mock-up on the right so that you're able to preview what this will look like to users on their mobile phone. So once you've submitted this, let's go see what Ryan's page looks like live. So again, we'll go back to Airbnb.com. We will search for experiences in Los Angeles, as that is where he is located. And then from here, you will see all the live experiences that are in Los Angeles. And remember, earlier in the submission form, we checked social impact. So we are able to go ahead and filter by social impact experiences in LA. So now we're in the filtered view where we see all the social impact experiences in Los Angeles. Let's look for Ryan's. His is right here. So this is the experience page that all visitors to Airbnb are able to view. It has all the same information that he has typed in, that you will be typing in to your experience page. Again, we'll provide notes, where we'll be. But the part that we love best are the reviews. So this is where people can read up on how other guests thought the experience went. And these are always so fun to read. And a lot of times people will call out the nonprofit and the transformation that they've had. So this is definitely a great place to read as a host and also as a guest. Speaking of guests, if I were to book this experience, you can see the price point down here, the number of reviews. Ryan has 701, which is incredible, and they seem to all be 5 stars, which is great. So I would go ahead and click on See Dates, and this is where you get the calendar view to see how often Ryan is hosting. And again, this is set on your schedule, so you can host as often as you would like. In Ryan's case, he is hosting at least 3 times a week throughout the summer, which is wonderful. And that is it. We hope this video was helpful, and we look forward to seeing your experience submission. Thank you.
Awesome. So I hope that was super helpful for you. So I'm just going to do a quick rundown and review of like what we just chatted about. So the Social Impact Experiences program are these unique, immersive, generally recreational activities that are hosted by nonprofits or their supporters. They are roughly about 2 to 5 hours long, and we waive all of our service fees. So 100% of that guest booking revenue goes directly back to your organization. It's a great way to tap into the Airbnb community for awareness, make these global connections, and then also fundraise simultaneously. Generally speaking, we try to create these as ongoing programming for your organization. One-off events don't typically perform well because you're not able to gain trust or traction within our community because you don't have reviews. So reviews are really crucial to the long-term success of your experience, and you gain them over time. Oftentimes, we actually say to kind of jumpstart your experience, it's great to tap into your own support community to have them go on your experience. And that way, you gain feedback from them personally, but then also in reviews as well. So ultimately, we would love for you to submit an experience as well. And so there's 3 steps, and it usually takes about an hour long. First, so you've got your great idea and you have your host in mind. Next, you're going to create a new Airbnb account. So this way we can directly deposit that the guest revenue 24 hours after the experience is completed. And then you're going to build your experience with this link provided here, airbnb.com/independent sector. And don't forget that you'd want to indicate that this is a social impact experience, and that way we know that it's being hosted on behalf of a nonprofit, and you would have to get validated by TechSoup, and then we could waive our service fees in those instances. So other than that, that about wraps it up. I think we should take this time now to answer your questions, and you can type all of your questions into the Q&A box, which I believe Laura can then see as well.
Yep. Okay, so our first question came in, and it was specific to from Gloria, and it asked if you can list your experience in different categories, i.e. history and food and drink. So currently you can list in one category, so you would choose the one that's most relevant, but we are working on a tagging feature where you can then add additional descriptors. So for instance, if you chose food and drink, you could then add onto it like Spanish tapas or like a brewery crawl, or kind of adding additional descriptors. And then as a bonus, you're also listed in the social impact category, so you do get an extra category as a nonprofit host. The second question that came in from Gloria is, which are the social impact experiences that have been most successful? Who's making over $100,000, over $50,000? What is the average or median amount per year for planning purposes? So Gloria, the average is $6,500 per year for hosts, but Free Animal Doctor, who was just in the product demo, they host 3 to 5 times a week for up to 10 people on each hike. They have over 1,000 5-star reviews, and their cost is $45. So they are making like just the 1,000 reviews at the 45. If everyone left a review, that would be $45,000 to their organization. And then in addition, they've opened a hike in San Diego as well. So they're diversifying by offering multiple experiences with multiple hosts on behalf of their organization. So that's an example. Another good one is child.org in London. They offer a Harry Potter tour of London, where basically they've created content around kind of the Harry Potter in conjunction with their charity. So that one, they think that they've expanded to 2 or 3 experiences as well, with 2 or 3 different hosts. So you can kind of look at the price per experience, how often you're hosting the experience, and then how many experiences you want to host for your organization. The next one is also from Gloria. It says, how long does it take to validate an experience and get it up and running? So to validate an experience takes about a week or 2 weeks. So once you are TechSoup verified, which you'll be sent the link in the experience process, then our team will review your experience and either send you feedback or go ahead and accept it based on the photography and the content that you've sent in.
Yeah, and that actually is a good point too. The standards that we're looking for are expertise, hospitality, and the third is, it'll come to me. Do you know it, Laura?
Yeah, expertise, hospitality, and I think it's unique access.
Yeah, and access, yeah. So those 3, when crafting your experience, would be kind of keeping those in the back of your mind so that the quality vetter would then say, all right, we hit insider access, we hit expertise, and we've got that hospitality component because, you know, they give you those, we'll be providing this, you should bring this, those sort of tips and tricks.
Great. So Sierra says, do you have any additional training webinars or marketing tips to help you reach and expand your audience? We actually do, Sierra. We offer a host academy in which we have a kind of a series of webinars that help you with marketing your experience. So for instance, with just to keep going with the same example, the Free Animal Doctor, they've created their own website that helps you like further clarify directions. They have a hashtag on Instagram. They've done their own PR and they've gotten a Lonely Planet article written about them. So we do kind of walk through with our hosts like kind of best practices and how to promote your experience. And then also what Airbnb does to promote your experience, such as send an email to those guests who have booked a home that are close to your location, and etc. So we can walk through that in our training webinars, in which when we can send a follow-up information on that. Jennifer asks, can you set a recurring event to happen every week or month at the same time? Yes, you can, Jennifer. So on the calendar screen, you'll be able to basically just select all the Thursdays and all the times. And you can actually set your price based on time too. So you can do price fluctuation. So you may charge more on a Saturday than you do on a Tuesday. So you can also host multiple times a day. So if you were to do, say, like a hike, you could host it in the morning and the afternoon. And then Angie asked if you can have multiple hosts and or host multiple events. So in the instance of Free Animal Doctor, just to keep using that example, they have 2 hosts on the hike. So they have both of the founders on the hike, but sometimes they'll have a founder and a volunteer, and sometimes they'll have 2 volunteers. So the idea is that there's always someone there that the audience or that the guests know is going to be there. So Ryan is always present. But in addition to Ryan, they can have multiple hosts. And then in multiple events, you can have different events with different hosts too on behalf of your organization. Connor, do you have anything else to add there?
I would just say that it's really critical to showcase if there are multiple hosts in the host bio section, just making sure that each one has their own section to describe themselves.
Great. So we do have a few more minutes. If anyone else has any questions, just type into the Q&A. We'll give it a couple minutes. But thank you, everyone, so much for joining us during this amazing webinar with the independent sector. And it's just a really exciting community to be a part of. So we do have another question. So Jennifer asked if you can create an experience for a specific event, such as a single day fundraiser, a 5K, or a gala. So Jennifer, this kind of comes back to like the review process. So the reason that Free Animal Doctor has been so successful is because they have 1,000 5-star reviews. And if you're only hosting the event once a year, then there's no opportunity to really continuously gather reviews for your experience. So right now we've seen that one-off events haven't been very successful because without the reviews and the validation, they just get really low bookings. So those organizations that we've tried listing galas with have gotten maybe 1 or 2 people to attend their gala from the website, but haven't been able to use it successfully. Additionally, we do look for experiences to be 10 people and under. So with a gala, you'd have to offer something special for those 10 people. So the opportunity would be, maybe like a VIP package at your gala, but even then we just haven't seen much success for our partners, which is why we really encourage everyone to do repeating events. Gloria asked, if you have trouble around the setup, is there a special group you can contact? I found that if you need help with social impact, with the social experience, regular group doesn't know. Yeah, so Gloria, the email that's currently up on the slide, social-impact@airbnb.com, comes directly to myself. And so someone from our team can help you directly. We're also working on training with all of our experience operations teams to help kind of guide nonprofits that have specific questions.
Another piece that sometimes comes up as well is we also do provide insurance, no cost to you as well. So you're backed up to $1 million as well. So for some of those more adventurous nonprofits out there, we do cover that liability. Laura, we can't hear you. Sorry.
Okay. No, thanks, Connor. So we do have one last question from Angie. She says, I live in a small community with various nonprofits that I volunteer with. As a host, may I host one type of event for one nonprofit and one type of event for another? So Angie, yes, that's a wonderful idea. And thank you for being so involved in your community. What you would do is you would contact both nonprofits and you would have each nonprofit set up an account, such as it in the demo video, so that their bank information goes directly to that account and they would list you as their host. So you would have multiple profiles with different sign-ins. And so when you would be managing your account, you would just have to flip between the two. Or you could ask the nonprofit to help you manage it and to let you know, like basically manage when people are signing in, etc. So that would be the only tricky part. I would say to start with one nonprofit and one type of experience just as you start hosting. But if you're super passionate, to go ahead. And we do have experiences that have, like, say you're doing something for the Chinese Culture Center and something for Free Animal Doctor. You may have an iPad for each, in which the iPad manages the experience so that you don't have to kind of toggle back and forth. And then, Connor just says a +1 for the insurance liability from Gloria, saying it's fantastic.
I also have one question, perhaps. Laura's been giving me a hard time for my mustache, so I just want to hear some feedback from all of you, whether or not you think it suits me. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe we open up a poll where it's Halloween or normal. Gloria says thumbs up for mustaches.
Thank you, Gloria.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And thank you, Robert, for introducing us to the community. And we look forward to all the amazing experiences that you will create.
Big thanks to everybody for joining us today. Thanks to Connor and Laura for a really informative presentation. And if any of you do decide to try these social impact experiences, I would personally love to hear your experience with the program. I would love to hear how you use it to tell your story and communicate your mission. So please feel free to drop me a line, robertj@independentsector.org. Love to be a learning organization. I would love to hear what you're doing. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.